What's going on, everyone, and welcome to Movie Emporium's review of the new Netflix original documentary, The Sons of Sam, A Descent into Darkness. This is a documentary that was directed by Joshua Zeman. Now, before we begin, if you like what you see on this channel, awesome, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium, hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome, hit that like button, as well as comment below any video that you watch, including this one. And so this documentary, The Sons of Sam, A Descent into Darkness, is a documentary about, of course, the son of Sam, David Berkowitz, who murdered a bunch of people. But it's also a documentary about one person's obsessive nature to trying to basically unearth a conspiracy, a cult-like following that was more into this thing, this situation, that it made it sound like there was more people that were involved in the Son of Sam killings. And so the first episode, if you don't know anything about the Son of Sam, is perfect for you because it gives you a big lead up, tells you everything you need to know, who was killed, why they were killed. Well, not necessarily why they were killed, but the nature of who they were. You know, you get a lot of like talking heads and stuff like that, which is what most of the documentary is. But it is, for the most part, a wraparound or wrap up of everything that happened with all these people that were murdered by the Son of Sam, according to what the NYPD found, David Berkowitz. But the other 3 episodes, and like I said, this is one episode too long, as these Netflix documentaries seem to be, basically tells the story of a character named Maury Terry, who was an individual who became so obsessed with the case, became so kind of digging down the rabbit's hole, that he started uncovering a conspiracy, at least he claimed a conspiracy, of this possible cultist organization, or it was a real thing called The Process. And The Process was this group that was, you know, accused of like slaying and murdering dogs. They were accused of being like fronting a lot of bad things. There was possibilities of Charlie Manson being involved. It's that type of story, and then it gets involved with the children, the children of the Charlie Manson, the children, stuff like that. And just, it basically is a story of a man who goes so far down the rabbit hole that he starts losing credibility, but he still brings up some interesting facts. Whether they're true or not is a different story, but there are some really interesting ideas and interesting possibilities that I never knew about that may possibly link to possible multiple killers, multiple gunmen, multiple snuff film dealings in the case of the Son of Sam, which is a really fascinating thing. It's a thing where you go into it going, okay, so I know about the Son of Sam a little bit. I've seen some history. I've read about David Berkowitz. We all know the kind of ideas and ideologies behind everything about him talking to dogs and stuff like that. But then this raises some more interesting ideas, some more interesting concepts, some more interesting motives about, were these people trying to start a religious war? Were they trying to end with the final judgment, as The Process was called, Process and the Final Judgment? It's one of those documentaries that opens up some possibilities, but it seems so well put together as a documentary that it almost seems unbelievable in a lot of aspects, that everything lines up so neatly, so simply, that it almost feels like a documentary that is making you try, which documentaries tend to do, making you lean towards the fact that this guy Maury Terry was in fact leading into something really profound that the police just didn't want to deal with, which is what kind of happened. He was basically shunned by the police, shunned by the public and stuff like that. He wrote a book that didn't really sell. And so I'm really conflicted by a documentary like this. Like I said in, the Cecil Hotel documentary, and I even said this for the Mafia versus New York, I don't mind Netflix doing documentaries because My Octopus Teacher was on Netflix, and that's an amazing documentary. But when you get into these documentaries about murder investigations and people involved in conspiracies, you have to be careful about how you present your evidence and how you present your story, how you present the talking heads to the story, because they're going to develop and kind of delve into who this guy was, that Maury Terry was, and they're going to give you information that is going to lean towards possibly being him, but also trying to get other people that were very detractors of who he was. And of course, Maury Terry was able to convince David Berkowitz to do interviews, and there's some speculation about that as it's talked about in the documentary. But I think it's an interesting thing because it brings up some stuff I never heard about, never even knew about, which is kind of fascinating. I always just thought it was David Berkowitz that was the killer. But it's so weird and so speculative about what is going on in this documentary that is almost like unjustifiably unbelievable, and kind of you're reaching for things, especially when it comes to The Process, which it would not surprise me if David Berkowitz was involved in some kind of satanic cult in some form or fashion. But they bring up some really strong points about maybe just David Berkowitz was just scared to even talk about anything. Maybe he was just really that insane that he just didn't know, like he just kind of agreed with that whatever Maury Terry was saying to him. And that leads into problems where I feel like it becomes so unbelievably unrealistic that it just doesn't make any sense. Does it mean that it didn't happen? I can't say. The documentary does make some compelling points about it, but I just think overall, I think the story is a little too far-fetched sometimes. It gets into some really weird, odd territory about, the satanic cults and stuff like that, about reaching into this woman, I think it was named Arliss Perry or something like that, that was killed in some satanic way that, it's just, it makes it for a very hard documentary to watch. And like I said, it goes so far sometimes that it feels like the documentarian, Joshua Zeman, was giving full carte blanche and really wasn't given any kind of notes about cutting certain things down, because when it goes into some of the really out there, really outlandish stuff, it's really kind of bonkers and kind of unbelievable in a lot of aspects. The whole idea of just like the Sam Carr and John Carr who ended up eventually killed himself. This stuff is just like, I guess, maybe, possibly, I don't see it. But I mean, just overall, I think the documentary is interesting. It's way better than the Cecil Hotel documentary. It has some interesting moments. But once again, if you know about the Son of Sam murders, if you know about Maury Terry, the documentary is not going to do anything for you. And there's so much unbelievable stuff in the documentary about, how people play out and how certain things happen. Like I said, it's really cleanly done. It's really just kind of nicely wrapped in a bow that it's trying to make you believe Maury Terry, but there's just so much evidence that makes you kind of wonder if he was just crazy and just way too obsessed with it. And he eventually died, just a kind of disgraced individual. But it's a documentary, like I said, it still has some interesting moments. It still makes you kind of believe something more may have been more, but I don't know. I think it's also a documentary that kind of tries to belittle the police a little bit, which is that day and age where the police are constantly being watched by every human being, and when they do something bad, things happen. And that's what it's trying to do here. So I'm trying not to spoil too much in case you want to watch it, but like I said, it is about the Son of Sam. It's about a guy who's obsessed with the Son of Sam, and it brings up some interesting points. But is it true? I want to say no. I want to say a lot of it's kind of not substantial. I really do, but maybe I'm wrong. I tend to be wrong a lot of times. So but anyways, overall it's still entertaining. It's just an episode too long as well, so there's just a lot of stuff and that just didn't need to be in there. Just people talking and stuff like that. So but that's it. That's gonna be my take on this documentary, which is the Sons of Sam, Descent into Darkness. If you decide to watch this, let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Was it something that you agree with? I'd be interested to see what people's opinions are on this concept, this idea of what Maury Terry was going for. Does it make you a believer of him? I mean, just overall, what is your think? No begrudging of anybody who likes it. Anyways, if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.